Alright, look, I know my recent videos have been pretty negative lately. Trust me, I don't want to be another one of those angry YouTuber who pretends like nothing good has ever come out of video games. So for today, let's spice things up a bit. As a celebration in reaching 1,000 subscribers, I want to show you guys the games I love. I'll save the thank you speech for the end, but for now, I want to tell you a bit about me and what my favorite games are. The games that I consider to be the GOATs. Enjoy. Luigi's Mansion is the one GameCube game I'll never get tired of no matter how many times I've played it. It's all the tricks and traps of a regular haunted house without the extreme gore and scares. It was more like if Casper really wanted to lean into a more goofy but spooky tone. But this is a game where if I was teaching a class about level design, I would point them to this. While every room is just a contained box, a diorama, capturing each ghost requires you to kind of mess around and observe, almost like an escape room. You're encouraged to shake and open things, and even if it isn't a part of the solution, it may let you stumble upon rare ghosts like the Speedy Spirits, which can net you a ton of cash if caught. Give a big shout out to Mama Bull for this one. She made me a massive GameCube starter kit for Christmas back in '01 with a bunch of different games, including Luigi's Mansion. You did good, Mom. You did really good. It's no secret that I absolutely adore Lollipop Chainsaw. I made an entire video about it for Valentine's Day in 2023 after all. Ah, look at me then, so young, so whiskey-fueled. Fun fact, I did actually drink whiskey in that video, and I did so many takes that I wound up getting super hammered after I finished recording everything. Not a fun ride, to be honest. But anyways, Lollipop Chainsaw had the flavor I had been wanting from games back in 2012. With so much gray and brown crap flooding the AAA market, I was willing to pick up anything with some spice, anything with a little bit of color, a little bit of edge, and some fun. Give me something violent, something sexy, something that's really gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. What I found was a remarkable hack and slash game that was funny, vibrant, and dare I say, titillating. If you haven't already, go watch my video about it. I know it's a format I don't really do anymore, but I'm still proud of how it turned out. Besides, those of you who hate watch me, you weirdos, you might get a kick out of seeing me suffer from the worst whiskey I have ever had. To this day, do not buy Ugly Dog whiskey. This stuff sucks. It sucks, man. I will always consider Twisted Metal Head-On to be the best in the franchise. Thing is though, I keep coming back to this one. Twisted Metal PS3 got way too much flack for focusing more on vehicles instead of characters, when there is so much more to love here. This is the level of madness I have always wanted from the previous games. Not that they were disappointments or anything, it's just that whenever I thought about what a more unadulterated, a more open Twisted Metal looked like, it was a game where you had heavily armed helicopters piloted by other players, destructible buildings that you can just plow through to find hidden power-ups, and the opportunity to just be nasty to other players by running over their driver. Say what you will about the story campaign, I personally loved that and its weird cutscenes. Overall, this was a major step forward in the right direction. I just wish the game had sold more so that we would have gotten a more refined sequel by now. South Park: The Stick of Truth was probably the first major release where I made sure to save up my paychecks properly. Working retail wasn't fun, but I would do it all over again for this game. I'm already a huge South Park fan, but we had never had a game where the show's creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone were so heavily involved. So this was a really big deal at the time. You had the same level of creativity and comedy as the show, the same story structure where things get increasingly absurd over time, and it managed to deliver a great RPG experience while poking fun at the usual video game tropes we've come to recognize. Even without South Park's flavor, Stick of Truth holds up really well in its mechanics and level design. Even though fights can get ridiculously easy at times, any fan can get lost for hours just looking for Easter eggs and indulging in the out-of-pocket combat.
Feel the righteous fury!
Everyone has their favorite Tekken game, and for me, that's Tekken 5. While I was exposed to Tekken 2 and 3 at a really young age, 5 was the first time where this was the game I wanted from Circuit City. Yeah, I was around like in the last days of Circuit City, and this was my last visit. So worth the 20 bucks too. Not only did I get the first 3 Tekken games, or at least their arcade versions, through this game, Tekken 5 was an entirely new game with new characters and the most badass soundtrack in the entire franchise. I clocked in so many hours trying to learn Jin and Christy back then while jamming to Moonlit Wilderness, Poolside, and The Finalizer. For me, this was Tekken at its highest. That isn't to say every game after wasn't as good, it's just that no other game in the series will be as good as the first time. And pretty much any fan will say their first was the best, or they'll just default to saying Tekken 3 is the best. And that's totally fair. Tekken 5, though, you will never get me to dislike any part of this game. Not even that god-awful Devil Within mode. I still think that mode was cool in its own way. I spent so much time in my last couple years of high school playing Fable 3. This was the kind of game that helped me open up to RPGs more. I was already into the lighter stuff like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, but I never played something of this caliber. Fable 3 managed to capture me in such a way that no other fantasy game had been able to before. Maybe it was because of the humor. Maybe it was because of the significant role you play in overthrowing your own brother, the King of Albion. Maybe it was because of the beautifully whimsical score composed by Russell Shaw. It's been so long since I last played it, but to this day there are moments that have stuck with me for most of my life. I am currently revisiting Fable 3 for the first time since 2010, and thanks to Xbox's Frame Boost feature on Series XS, it's like I'm playing the game for the first time again. I'm not super into fantasy, but I used to love the Fable series, and honestly, I'm thinking about putting together a series of videos to prepare myself for the reboot. I have a love-hate relationship with Diddy Kong Racing. I absolutely cannot stand the second half of this game with its ludicrous silver coin challenges. And yet, I choose to suffer. I choose to suffer because despite everything, I love this game. I love its unique track designs, I love the music, I love the colorful cast, I love the way some tracks can be raced with different vehicles which change the way you race. I love the neat shortcuts that each course holds. I love the focus on stacking power-ups to increase their effects. Silver coins are the bane of my existence, but if I have to endure some of the obscene rubber banding to get everything else that makes this game truly splendid, so be it. Diddy Kong Racing slaps. I'm a bit picky when it comes to playing first-person and third-person shooters. The military and sci-fi stuff never really catches my eye because, you know, they kind of all look alike, unless there is something visually striking about it. That's what made me gravitate towards Metal Arms, a game where you have cartoon robots blasting each other to bits. I bought this game from a play-and-trade back in the day, wondering if anyone had even heard of this game, only to find very little information about it at the time. And it only had an asking price of $9.99. Dude, I wish this game was $60. I wish I was there at launch. Metal Arms is a game with some truly unique ideas, at least they were at the time, and at least they were to me, at the time. You had guns that lodged buzzsaws into enemies, shotguns that functioned like instant pepper spray, and even guns that let you possess enemy robots. On top of that, every level featured some highly destructible set pieces that could get you and your enemies killed. There was something wonderfully arcadey about the entire game, and the multiplayer component was just as fun to play as the campaign. This is one of those games I am definitely wanting to make a video about because Metal Arms is one of those games I genuinely believe needs a second chance. I took a huge gamble buying Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc and its sequel through the 1+2 Despair pack back when I was in college. Here was this visual novel with anime dudes and ladies with some dating sim elements, all tied into a game about murder. This, at the time, was probably the most anti-tie game that you could possibly give me. And there's an evil bear involved too, which makes it even more weird, where I just look at it and think, what the hell am I supposed to get out of this? I went in expecting some truly insane shit, and I came out having lived through some truly insane shit. Danganronpa pulls some of the wildest, most clever twists and turns you have ever seen in a murder mystery. And while they do seem completely out of left field at first, the game does give you the signs. And those signs you will never notice on your first playthrough. No joke, there were moments in this game where I had to pause and walk away to go process what exactly happened. And I have played Goodbye Despair and Killing Harmony, the second and third games, but Trigger Happy Havoc I feel did it best. I'll be honest with all of you, I kind of resent the PlayStation 5. I resent it because the lack of first-party support, or at least the lack of any substantial first-party support. But I do want to give Team Asobi credit here for giving me one of my favorite games ever. Astro's Playroom is a fantastic game in every way. In addition to creating clever mechanics that showcase the PlayStation 5's capabilities, every level hides a multitude of secrets in imaginative ways. Though linear in design, you do get some wider areas to play around with the DualSense's functionality and play with the environment. Of course, the biggest draw for me here was the insane amount of PlayStation history on display. The PS1 was one of my very first consoles growing up, and it was such a trip collecting various PlayStation controllers, peripherals, and accessories like the iToy multi-tap and even the logo for PlayStation Home. And that goes without mentioning the adorable robots cosplaying and living out various moments from both first and third-party PlayStation games. Maybe I love this game because I've been with the platform for so long. And you absolutely know I'm going to be grabbing Astrobot the second that drops. Having grown up with parents that primarily listened to pop and country music, I didn't get a lot of opportunities to explore music on my own. Guitar Hero 3 was sort of my gateway, but Brutal Legend kicked the damn door down. I still remember being amazed that a team of people created an entire video game based on a genre of music. That just sounded completely impossible to me at the time. This was where I discovered Lemmy, Tenacious D, Judas Priest, Diamond Head, and more, all in this massive open-world RTS where you used roadies, guitar legends, and beasts to destroy your opponent's stage. And though the multiplayer only let you choose between 3 playable factions, they each had vastly different playstyles and offered different ways to dominate maps. It's just a real shame that it was a commercial failure. With all of the legalities tied to it, this kind of game will simply never happen again. Unless Double Fine finally figures out how to move forward with a second game and gets all that Microsoft money to fund it. So everyone's got their favorite N64 game. It's Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, it could be Mario Kart 64, it could be a number of things, but for me, it's Star Fox 64. I was crazy about this game growing up, and I'm still crazy about it today. I could go on about the breathtaking locations like Corneria or the boss fight on Macbeth, but what really meshes with me is just how modular the campaign is. Whether you go all easy, all hard, or a blend of the two, the story always makes sense, the difficulty curve is always just right, and it all makes for an incredible adventure no matter how many times you play it. Star Fox 64 is one of those rare retro games I refuse to sell. Ever. I could get rid of everything else in my N64 collection, this one stays. The moment I heard the intro song for this game, I knew I picked up a great title. Splosion Man was that first foray into smaller games, can't really call this indie since Xbox published it, and it helped show that there was a future for games that focused more on fun ideas. In Splosion Man's case, it was the idea of being able to, in a sense, triple jump. Explode in the air 3 times before you fall back down to God knows where, and it did get hard. Some levels focused on speed, while other levels would introduce new objects and enemies, or blend objects and enemies into one big puzzle. And if it wasn't obvious by this point, I love games that can weave a sense of humor into the gameplay. You ever see a man bleed T-bone steaks and donuts before? It's something else. The PlayStation 3 had a lot of truly special games that so many folks missed out on. 3D Dot Game Heroes, Puppeteer, Fat Princess, Tokyo Jungle, the list is unfortunately extensive. But Mod Nation Racers was one of those games that was ahead of its time. Developed by the now defunct United Front Games, Mod Nation Racers was the be-all end-all of kart racing games. This was Mario Kart in the way that you wanted to sculpt it. Create your own drivers, build your own karts, and design your own courses, all while enjoying a lighthearted and hilarious campaign. Back when the servers were still live, this community was poppin'. I can tell you all about the awesome fan creations that were going around between recreations of Mario Kart tracks, original character designs, karts based on our favorite vehicles across all of entertainment. We even had DLC that brought in guest racers from other PlayStation franchises. We even had DLC for frickin' Flow from Progressive. I roll my eyes when folks say this about most franchises, but I truly believe Mod Nation Racers could have had a brighter future had it launched 5 years later or even today, especially given how much emphasis there is these days on user-generated content. Conker's Bad Fur Day is the one rare game I cherish above everything else in the developer's catalog. Yes, I am a big Banjo fan. I love Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Nuts and Bolts. I even love some of the other rare games like Perfect Dark, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, and even Killer Instinct. And Diddy Kong Racing was one of my favorite N64 games growing up. But Conker, there was something special about this squirrel. Between the absurd humor and Robin Beanland's brilliant music, this was a game that made sure you weren't ever going to forget it. Not visually, not audibly, not even narratively. Everything sticks. Story-wise, this game winds up becoming a tale you would have never expected. I did a big deep dive into this on Mojo Plays back in 2021, so I highly recommend you go check that out if you haven't already. I poured my heart and soul into writing that video, and I'm still proud of that one to this day. Please, go check it out. The Tale of Sir Daniel Fortescue has long been one of my favorite video games that is often forgotten by PlayStation fanatics both casual and hardcore. Medieval puts you in the role of this revered knight who is remembered as a war hero by the kingdom, though his cohorts know him as the first to die in an epic battle against Zara, and it was not a noble death. This premise alone drew me into Medieval back in the day, and the gameplay was icing on the cake. I can agree that the combat is not as refined as most action games tend to be. In my eyes, that's part of the charm. This is a video game that isn't trying to be fancy or further complicate things, or even try to be innovative. You get a primary attack, a secondary attack, a block, and a dash. It's about as video game to the core as you can get, and that's okay. The main appeal here, and it's not to sound like a typical games journalist, the main appeal here is the adventure itself. You're here for the wonder and the excitement of playing as this dead and clumsy knight, going up against an evil sorcerer and his undead army, all while his former colleagues and peers just shit-talk him to no end, to his face. And it's a funny game. It is a truly funny game. And if you want to try this for yourself, you can play both the original and the remake on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Doom 64 is one of my favorite childhood games to talk about. No, I did not play this game as a child, well, at least not until age 10. I watched it. I vividly remember watching my mom play this game while I hid under a laundry basket. I was just that scared of the demons. And today, I see why she was so enamored with this. Doom 64 manages to conjure some crazy maps. You never know which room might be hiding a trap door housing a demon, or if a switch is going to sink you into acid or open up a new area. You're constantly on guard, waiting for the worst. And what I really love about this game is the sound design. The way this game focuses on ambiance in lieu of music. There is music in the game, but it's kind of in the background, if you get what I'm saying. But the way this game focuses on ambiance is harrowing in the best of ways. All you get to hear is the hum of UAC tech, making everything quiet enough to put you on high alert at the slightest growl or whir. If you want to see a game match the same level of tension as Dead Space or Alien Isolation, Doom 64 laid the groundwork here. It's an incredible game. Just make sure you go play the remaster from Night Dive and not the original, because the original you can't see shit. I sort of have this weird history with God of War. It's not that I never liked Kratos. Hell, I would have put God of War 3 on my list had I made this video over a year ago. But in summer 2023, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to jump into God of War HD on PS3. And surprisingly, it is now one of my favorite games ever. To me, this is the prime example of how you make a video game while still giving the cinematic feel. The camera work sells the scope of the world, and the music works in perfect tandem with establishing shots. Combat is incredibly fun as you're hacking away at dudes and spamming magic attacks to get through the beefy guys as quickly as possible. My only gripe is when you venture out into the desert to fight the sirens, but I eventually found workarounds to deal with them quickly. Satyrs, on the other hand, satyrs. Best part of the entire game, for me at least, and this is gonna sound weird, because I don't like difficult games and I don't like highly difficult segments in games, But my favorite part in this whole game is Hades. I know everybody hates this part because of the Tower of Blades, but this section was the biggest highlight of the game for me. I don't know why. I just love the aesthetic. I love the design of it. Perhaps this is another series for me to make videos on as I progress through the rest of Kratos' Greek era. I ain't doing Challenge of the Gods again though. I already popped the Platinum Trophy. I already suffered. I ain't doing this shit again. I have had a really hard time streaming Naughty Bear in the past, and I've had a really hard time showing my love for it, at least on camera. I mean, just imagine this. Laughing while a squeaky bear suffers a gruesome death will make anybody look like a psychopath. But that's the point of Naughty Bear. That is what he is. This is a teddy bear going on a murderous rampage, all because a bunch of other psychotic teddy bears keep antagonizing him for no damn reason. As Behavior Interactive put it back then, it's a Saturday morning cartoon gone wrong. And that's really the main reason to play it. Finding all of the insane ways to kill the other bears. But once you start noticing the placements of power-ups and finding all the ways to maximize your combo, it becomes a totally different game. Now you're running through bushes, trying to group bears together, pushing bears to insanity so they start attacking each other. Naughty Bear gets nuts with its dumb premise, and it's honestly why I love it so much today, even with some of the weird bugs and glitches with the AI. It's a broken mess, but it's a wonderful broken mess. Of all the games I've played in my near 30 years of life, there's only one that I can come back to again and 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 again. It's Crash Team Racing. This was the definitive game of my childhood, of my teenage years, of my college life, my entire life. The animation, the music, the drift boost mechanics, the level design, the stupidly mundane story. Crash Team Racing is one of those very, very few games that I consider to be perfect in every way, shape, and form. Pulling off a perfect drift boost that could let you potentially cut corners is immensely satisfying, and it's even more satisfying when you find how to make the geometry work with your cart so that you can get more jump boosts and hold on to your sacred fire. It's just, there's so many layers to it. I can't even begin to process where to start peeling this massive onion of a game. And what's even cooler about this game is how Naughty Dog implemented an entire campaign with boss races, cutscenes, and collectibles. I know, Diddy Kong Racing did it first, but for me, CTR did it best. I'll forever despise those CTR token races, just as much as I hate those silver coin challenges from DKR, but this is one of those very rare games where I will suffer through the parts. I will willingly go through all those parts just to 100% the campaign again, and I'm never going to get sick of CTR. It's just never going to happen. Thank you for sitting through the video. I just want to cap this video off with a massive thank you to those of you who have been watching my videos. Within a month's time, I've hit 2 major milestones with my channel, and I never thought that I would ever get even close to a fraction of being where I'm at now. Sometime in the middle of May, I was accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. And roughly 2 weeks after that, I managed to reach 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 of you folks out there enjoying the videos. Oh, excuse me, I belched. I did not mean for that. I promise I ate before recording. But getting back on track, 1,000 of you folks out there have been enjoying the videos I'm putting out and have been enjoying the conversations we're having, even if some of you out there don't agree with everything I say. And I don't expect you to. But I do enjoy the conversations that we do have. I do enjoy seeing the thoughts you guys have. And I'm forever grateful for your support. I truly am. There are millions of other YouTube channels that you can be watching out there, and I'm honored that you folks still tune in despite my small output of 1 or 2 videos per month. I'm probably one of the worst YouTubers that you could probably subscribe to because I don't put out anything, and I'll go weeks without saying anything, and I'll just drop a video at like 3 in the morning. My schedule doesn't make any sense, but I'm glad and I'm thankful that you're all still here and on board with what I'm doing. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I'll see you all soon with a new video on I don't know. There were like 5 games on this list where I said I ought to make a video on this, and this, and who knows where I'm going to start, but take great care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon.